Ferruccio Lamborghini was a prisoner. He started a small garage when he got back to Italy and began converting military vehicles into field tractors. Timely business decision made him a millionaire, and he went on to become the creator of the most famous luxury sports automobile, Lamborghini. It all began when Enzo Ferrari informed him he was simply a farmer. Ferruccio was born in 1916 on a farm in the northern Italian village of Rinaldo. His parents grew grapes to make wine for a living and raised him amongst their vineyards. Cultivating grapes for wine, they instructed him to put in the effort and have the motivation to produce high-quality goods. Ferruccio learned from their mistakes, but not in the way they had intended or anticipated. Rather than learning how to run the farm, he was more concerned with mending their tractors. Aside from being disappointing, leaving the family business was viewed as dangerous. Ferruccio nonetheless decided to pursue his interest and enrolled in the Fratelli Taddea Technical Institute to study mechanics. After graduating, Ferruccio never looked back, much to his father's dismay. He began his studies under a skilled blacksmith who taught him all of his welding and ironworking techniques. However, it wasn't enough to win over Cavaliere Righi in Bologna, a significant plant that he had his sights set on. The facility at the time focused on vehicle maintenance for the Italian army. Ferruccio was headstrong and obstinate, yet he persisted and persuaded the owner to engage him. He left and went back to his hometown of Rinaldo when he reached 18. Together with his lifelong friend Marino Filippini, he started a workshop there. Years later, he would learn that it had been the first step in transforming his passion into an empire. He would first need to get away from his captors, though. Ferruccio was uprooted from his carefree existence when the Second World War broke out. He was hired as a mechanic at the garrison on Rhodes Island, Greece, after being drafted by the Royal Italian Air Force. Italy gave up after 3 years. After that, the German troops seized control of the garrison and drove the Italians out. Ferruccio made the decision to remain and requested authorization to start his own workshop. The Allied forces arrived 2 years later. Ferruccio was included in the list of detainees they took from the garrison. They hired him to work on fixing their vehicles once they realized his technical prowess. They gave him permission to leave a year later. The early years Ferruccio spent at home were everything but happy. Clelia, his wife, died while giving birth to Tonino, their only child. Following that, Ferruccio kept himself occupied in his workshop, where he mostly fixed tractors, trucks, and pre-war automobiles. But his father made a last-minute request of him one day, which drastically altered the trajectory of his life. "My tractor needs to be replaced," Ferruccio's father said. Ferruccio experienced a realization at that point. To recover from the war, Italy urgently needed to increase agricultural production. Better tools, however, were required to make that practicable. With knowledge gained from working with both Allied and Axis vehicles, Ferruccio purchased surplus military supplies and turned them into brand new tractors. They were constructed using an outdated British Morris engine that was converted to run on inexpensive diesel rather than pricey petroleum. They were touted as being more inventive and reasonably priced than anything previously seen. Later, Ferruccio founded Lamborghini Tractors as a new business. He required additional money for production even if there was a market for his tractors. His father therefore used his land as security for a loan. Ferruccio and his father's gamble paid off in more ways than either of them could have anticipated. Soon after, the business grew to become one of Italy's biggest producers of its sort. Ferruccio enjoyed delicious food, exquisite wine, and fast cars as he celebrated his achievement. Even worse, he began to amass Ferraris, Maseratis, Mercedes, and Jaguars. However, none of them fully satiated him. His Ferrari 250 GT's constant clutch failure caused him a great deal of frustration. He took the Ferrari to his technician one day for maintenance. Ferruccio found that the clutch matched the one installed on one of his tractors exactly. He did not like this because Ferrari had paid €1,000 for the same clutch that he had purchased for his tractor for just €10. Later, he made the decision to inform Enzo Ferrari of the flaws he discovered in his vehicles. The clutches were seen as being too noisy and rough on the road, and they also required frequent repairs. Ferruccio was dismissed by Enzo, who argued that he was the cause of the issue rather than the vehicle. "You operate a tractor and are a farmer. Don't whine about my cars, please. They are the best in the world." "Yes, I'm a farmer, but let me show you how a sports car ought to be built." Ferruccio left work that day prepared to demonstrate his abilities. Many thought his triumph was foolish and thought he would waste his wealth. Nevertheless, Ferruccio persisted and founded a new business in his name. He took on 3 of Ferrari's former employees and acquired a sizable piece of land on which to erect a factory. Ferruccio finished the Lamborghini 350 GT, his first sports car with his astrological sign as the insignia, in just 9 months. It had a V12 engine, a 5-speed transmission, 4-wheel disc brakes, and a 4-wheel independent suspension, and was regarded as a technical masterpiece. It was first displayed at the Turin Motor Show and received positive reviews from both users and critics. Ferruccio demonstrated to Enzo and his skeptics that he was more than simply a farmer and was capable of creating excellent automobiles. It was a smart vehicle with a lot of style and ease of use. Ferruccio's tractor and sports car businesses prospered during the ensuing few years. Ferruccio permitted his engineers to take risks when creating new models. Due to his management style, his team was able to complete the 400 GT and a covered project called the Miura P400. It was the first vehicle ever manufactured with a rear mid-engine layout and was designed as a street racer. Ferruccio was not informed since he opposed the idea of creating race cars. He participated in a major race a number of years prior and collided with the side of a restaurant. Ferruccio opted not to abandon the plan after learning the truth. It ended up being one of his wisest choices ever. The rear mid-engine configuration of the Miura, the first supercar in history, set the norm for all high-performance vehicles. From that point on, Lamborghini Trattore kept up its winning run and unveiled several well-known models, including the Espada, Alro, Jarama, Aurico, and Countach. Since they didn't use any other people's parts, they were thought to be superior to other sports vehicles. And the Countach was allegedly the subject of the most historical auto literature. Unfortunately, a string of uncontrollable events caused Ferruccio's prosperity to come to an abrupt end. Following a coup, a deal to deliver 5,000 tractors to Bolivia was cancelled. Ferruccio was obliged to sell his tractor business and 51% of his Automobili Lamborghini stock as a result of the loss. Later, there was a severe collapse in the stock market around the world, and OAPEC imposed an oil embargo. It brought to an increase in fuel prices and brought about a crisis in the automotive sector. We are aware that the petrol scarcity that is being discussed in Washington is having an impact on jobs, not only in Maryland but around the country. Ferruccio made an effort to maintain his enterprises and was successful in finding purchases for his unsold tractors. But he made the decision to leave his position at Automobili Lamborghini early and sold the remaining 49% of his stock. However, he did continue to possess a heating company and passed it to Tonino, his son. Later, Tonino changed course and focused on creating a profitable fashion and luxury company under the family brand. The brand's resurgence was unsuccessfully attempted by Automobili Lamborghini's new owners at this time. The business was subsequently driven into liquidation. A few years later, it was sold by the Italian government to 2 French billionaires for $3 million. They intended to engage fresh engineers and refurbish the outdated Lamborghini facilities. But they ran out of money and gave Chrysler the business. Chrysler attempted to bring the brand to the United States but was unable to turn a profit. They consequently sold the business to a corporation in Indonesia. Even though they had more success with sales, it wasn't enough to survive the Asian financial crisis. Audi acquired the business at that point after realizing the importance of paying more attention to procedures and product quality. Under the direction, Lamborghini was able to satisfy the demands of the 21st century and reclaim its position in the industry. Sales of the Gallardo, Huracan, and Urus SUV concepts increased globally, but mainly in the United States. Lamborghini recorded record sales in 2019 and has a current market value of $11 billion. This is the tale of a farmer who became a war prisoner and rebuilt his tractor company into a sports car dynasty.